Alright, the cast is me, the Dungeon Master, who I met playing Darktide, C, who I also met playing Darktide, Ray is the Dungeon Master's brother, and Arn is the Dungeon Master's friend. The day finally arrives for the game and we begin. Everyone's in the Discord server and we're all ready to go. We are playing 4 Space Marine Scouts on a proving mission. Should they be successful, we will finally become fully fledged battle brothers. The problem begins almost right away. Ray doesn't seem to have a clue about the 40k setting, and a whole lot of the time is spent explaining the world's lore. I don't get too mad because he's super friendly and really interested in the world. It just felt like there was a much better way to introduce a new guy into an already lore-heavy franchise. But hey, we soldier on. Our squad is tasked with finding out what happened to some villagers who have vanished. We are searching an abandoned house when suddenly we hear them. Tyranids! Don't worry, with the flamethrower buff, it'll be really easy to take care of them. Helldivers is the closest I think I will ever come to Warhammer. The sergeant orders us to cover all the windows. We're in for a fight. Initiative is rolled, and Arn has the honor of taking the first shot. Arn says his character jumps out of the window and rushes into the oncoming horde to sacrifice himself. Then he disconnects from their voice call and logged off. I swear, we all sat in stunned silence for a whole minute.
The bug swarm may be upon us, brothers, but we do not falter in the face of impossible odds. Instead, we triumph! Yay!
Nah.
Alright, let's go. Wait, what?
Yeah, no, I think I'm just gonna jump into all the enemies. May our ancestors remember me for an eternity. Bye!
Wait, Zach, dude, we're like coming up with a plan. Wait, what are you doing?
Come at me, insect scum. I will not.
Well, that was... Sorry, who was that guy again?
I think his name was Jerry. Named Crispy, let's be honest.
That doesn't matter.
To this day, I'm still flabbergasted. We never got a real explanation as to why he did that. First, it was he had to leave early, and then it was that I want to do something really cool and awesome, but realized I just screwed everyone. Arn has never really shown up on the server since that day, so there was never really any closure. The Dungeon Master has suggested we try again, and cut the guy some slack. Thing is, we never got an explanation or an apology, and that's what sucks the most from that debacle. You know what's crazy? Someone actually tried this in my game. Like, they wanted to leave the campaign forever, and they wanted to just die right there. Like, completely randomly, no warning, no discussion. I mean, look, I get it. You got stuff to do, but my god. Don't just send that to me in DMs. In the middle of the session. Don't know why marathoning your RPG Horror Stories playlist didn't remind me of this, but my recent first ever online session did. The group is making jokes like, "Welcome to the family, God help you," and as such, I replied with, "I've dealt with worse. Here's worse." This goes all the way back to first edition. Our important characters are yours truly, playing a human fighter, working her way towards Bard. In first edition, you had to earn Bard. Look it up. You know, I've seen lots of hero or prestige classes in fantasy, from World of Warcraft to Dungeons & Dragons.
Assassins, Death Knights,
Bar musician. Yeah, just doesn't hit the same. Oh god, no, the bards are gonna kill me. Oh no. Kyle, our dungeon master for this session, Stan playing a gnome illusionist, and Eric, who I think was playing a thief. If you recognize where I got the names, you should guess who started the problem. I don't. Somebody fill me in. Our local comic/hobby shop let people borrow tables for RPGs, miniatures, war games, etc. on a first-come, first-served basis. The 4 of us usually got there early enough after school. High school, and we were 16, 17 at the time. Oh no. Yeah, us teenagers were snagging tables and have been running our weekly D&D sessions there for a while. We had just finished a rather rough encounter, and Kyle's DMPC cleric, same level as us, and his character, when someone else was dungeon mastering, was getting my character and Eric's character healed up. Eric had suffered from some pretty rough rolls, so Stan's gnome, in character, made the crack of, "Well, if you'd been better at hiding, you wouldn't have gotten hit as much." It was common for our characters to tease each other about poor performance when the players rolled badly, and Eric's was notorious for it. Eric, however, was clearly not in the mood that day or something, and instead of his character insulting the gnome, Eric himself decided to insult Stan, the player, instead. All 3 of us told him to cool it, and he reverted back to his character, or so we believed, sulking, muttering something about short, big mouths, which is how my friends refer to me.
My mouth's not that big, right?
I mean, it kind of is.
Really? Wait, you're the same person as me. What? You have the same mouth.
With these insults out of the way, we thought this episode had passed. Wrong-o, sports fans. In the next encounter, it was Stan's turn to fall in favor of the dice gods. My character and the DMPC gave him a ration of crap for it, again in character, as is our custom. Eric, however, said something to the effect of, if you were playing a real magic user instead of an illusionist, maybe you'd be less useless. Dude, don't say crap like that. The bullies from the Owl House said that crap. Look what happened to them. Dude, you know all my characters are gnomes or halflings. Why? Easier for you, being a runt yourself? Stan was the shortest of us in real life. And one of us jump in at this point and just say, hey, what's the issue, man? My issue is that this... Oh, okay, YouTube, I'm trying my best here, alright? This prick is giving me crap about my frickin' rolls. It's worth noting that Eric was getting louder. Remember, we're in a public location. I jump in with, what the hell is that supposed to mean? We always have our characters hassle each other over bad rolls. It was at this point. Eric stood up and started walking towards what we thought was the door, probably to cool off. However, he instead walked over to Stan and punched him in the side of the head, knocking him into the back of the display case, which promptly fell over. Boy decided to roll initiative. Hey dude, your rolls tonight are kind of whack. Hey, what'd you say? Stan got up and fought back. Remember, we're all teenagers. The guy at the shop's counter, wanting no part in any of this, called the cops. By the time it was all done, Eric and Stan were both taken to the police station. All four of us were banned from the game shop. Eric and Stan had transgressed completely. But Kyle and I were still allowed to come in and shop. And Eric and Stan's parents were sued by the shop for the $5,000 worth of merchandise that had been in the display case and got damaged.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
The rest of us stopped hanging out with Eric after that. What? Why? Seems like a great dude. Well, I've never thrown hands over a tabletop game. I have seen stuff like this happen in high school and even in college. People, especially kids, they're stupid. And sometimes things escalate really, really fast. You know, you say one dumb thing, and then someone says a slightly dumber thing, and then someone else says a dumber thing, and then suddenly $5,000 worth of merchandise is destroyed, and you're being arrested by the police. Sometimes it's expedient to just take a breath. I'm lucky to play with a bunch of people who are very, very good friends of mine, who I trust. I know I can rib them, but at the same time, I try not to take it too far. We all try not to take it too far, because the ribbing is supposed to be fun. We're not trying to hurt each other, and we certainly don't want to get hurt while we're making jokes. At the end of the day, Eric sucks. Dude needs to take things a lot less, you know, personally, to say the least. I don't know if I'd call this a horror story, but I thought it'd be fun to share regardless. Not so long ago, I started up an unconventional D&D homebrew campaign with one of my best friends. We'll call him Max, and his friend from before we met, let's call him Sam. The world was based on the LITRPG, which I've never heard that one before, I gotta admit. Okay, that's actually sounds really cool. I might try one out one day. The lit RPG in question was the Wandering Inn, with them being humans from Earth that suddenly found themselves in the world of magic. Basically, the idea was that rather than the characters picking a class from the start, they would gain classes and levels depending on how they played, just like in the books, and open it up for the possibility of literally anything being a potential class, with some classes that could even be detrimental to the characters if they weren't careful. I made it abundantly clear before we even started playing that you had to earn classes and skills, and how you play would determine what you get. Max wound up a summoner who uses Yu-Gi-Oh cards to call his monsters. Alright. Hey, I watch Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like the only anime I have watched, so finally know what I'm talking about. We even reworked how the card effects would translate into our game, as well as what level he would need to be for stronger monsters. As a result, to this day, He has almost no skills or spells to defend himself. Everything is geared towards his summoned creatures, with most of his spells being buffs he can use to bolster the party. He is extremely squishy and he knows it. Sam does everything he can to gear himself up as a trapper type character, which I was fine with. Throughout the first 3 sessions, there was very little in the way of combat, as their characters were instead focused on learning about the world and how the leveling system worked. There had been only a single fight that occurred when Sam decided to run off, and Max pursued to keep them from getting himself killed. Sure enough, he ran right into a small pack of wolves. Max immediately summoned his Karibo, which was literally the only monster he could summon at the time, and prepared for a fight. Sam, however, jumped into the river and just ran away. Against all odds, Max made it through the fight as Sam continued to flee. Against all odds indeed.
Dude, Karibo stood against the wolves?
I'm sure Karibo had some like hidden power or something in the show, but I wasn't really paying attention. I was there for Blue Eyes White Dragon. They would eventually meet back up and decide to become adventurers together. Now, keep in mind, Sam still hasn't been in a single fight, and as a result, has earned no combat-related skills. In an effort to make up for this, I had been trying to help him by giving classes and skills that would complement his Trapper class and would hopefully help him when he finally did get into a fight. Everything is set, they're about to set foot on their first proper fight as a team, and finally, Sam can earn himself some combat skills. Unfortunately, right before that day's session can start, Sam gets upset I haven't given him any combat skills. Both me and Max point out that the only fight that has happened, he ran away from. Therefore, he has yet to be in a combat. We even point out to him that Max's only skills are a single buff and expanded mana pool. He accuses me of punishing him because he didn't engage in the fight, that he feels it's unfair that the class he wants to be his main has the lowest level. I remind him once again that we went over all this before we ever started playing, and I can't reward him for something he doesn't do. He gets upset, decides he doesn't want to play anymore, and promptly leaves the game in a huff. Thankfully, my roommate decided to join the game with his own character, which he excitedly built the week leading up to the session, and the game continued. Much smoother than it had before, by the way. We now have a 3rd player that's joined up, and 3 other people are interested in joining our game. It's been going for several months now with no sign of stopping. Looks like you got something good going on. I'm gonna be real, this isn't my favorite type of leveling system, but it's totally a valid one, and if you clarified during session 0, which you did, it's perfectly fine. In fact, it can be really interesting to build a character in this way. However, your problem player is a problem that many game developers stay up late at night worrying about. The super casual player who doesn't want to do anything and wants to be rewarded with everything. Look, there are times where things aren't going to come easy, where stuff is going to kick your butt. If you don't strategize properly in a combat, you might lose. And if you don't invest in the game, you're not going to get a lot out of it. If you're just handed everything, nothing is rewarding anymore. I'm not saying everything needs to be a struggle, a grind, a chore. I don't want that either, but it is a balance, and going too far to easy makes everything unrewarding and unfun. First, some context. I'm from Portugal, and back when the story happened in 2022, I was living in such a cultural mudhole. The closest thing we had to tabletop games in that town were Monopoly or the Game of the Goose. Look, I don't know about no goose game, but Monopoly?
Do not underestimate the intense roleplay scenarios of Monopoly.
To reach the closest game shop, I'd need to travel an hour and a half, which was definitely not compatible with my 10 to 19 work schedule. Important for later. Now, you can imagine how excited I was when I finally came across 2 other players. They were both uni students, one absolutely brand new to the game, let's call him Owlin, and the other one a couple of years under his belt, Mr. Problematic, although that only became noticeable later. We met through a Discord server, as I had only played online at that point, and once we found out we all lived in the same area, we started scheduling a game. Problem was, none of us had DM before, but Mr. Problematic suggested I give it a try, and I said, sure, why not? We voted on doing a level 0 one-shot, basically level 1 characters, but with no classes, since it would be easier to learn how to DM, and for Owlin to learn the rules. I also feel like you're sort of beating around the bush with a lot of the important concepts of the game, but to each their own, I suppose. What do y'all think? You ever done this level 0 thing? Once I had the general outline ready, we scheduled a session 0 at a cafe terrace to discuss rules, goals, and expectations, and that's when the first red flags started popping up. Mr. Problematic insisted on an in-person game, despite none of us having a place to host the game, and the pandemic restrictions were still a thing, because that was the only type of game he liked to play. He even tried to use the argument of, oh, we're all young and healthy, so it's not a big deal. But I shut that down hard because I had family members who I refused to put at risk. Either way, I wanted to run my first game online since it's easier and way less stressful for me. But the guy went from mildly annoying but still salvageable to absolutely ridiculous. A few days before the game was scheduled, I got hit by a really nasty case of the flu, so I was forced to postpone. But instead of giving me time to recover, Mr. Problematic started pestering me to run the game in the middle of the week instead, at the same time that I work, or to do it in person in a cafe where he lived, despite what I told him before, and me being in no condition to step out of the house to begin with. And when he saw he couldn't get me to budge, he started traveling to another town to play in person, which would have been fine if not for the stunt he pulled later. When I was finally well enough to run the game and scheduled a day for everyone so that we could all attend, Mr. Problematic warned us last minute he was going to town with the game shot to play in person with friends, but he assured us it wouldn't be a problem. He was going to take his laptop and be able to get home on time for our game because he was taking his motorbike. Except 15 minutes after the game was supposed to start, he messaged us in Discord, "I'm on my way home now. It's going to take an hour to get home because of the metro." The worst feeling. Hey, session was supposed to start 10 minutes ago. You sure they're coming? Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're just a bit late. I mean, you know, stuff happens sometimes. Oh, crap. See, that's probably them just telling us they're gonna be like 5 more minutes, right? Hey, what's up? Hey, I'm gonna be so late to the game that I may as well just not show up at all. I'm so sorry. They're not coming, are they? No. No! We centered the entire session around their character. The tragedy. We spent hours trying to get a schedule together. The session has to be canceled. Are you guys okay over there? You can imagine how royally pissed we were, but sunk cost fallacy kicked in. After all, this was a one-shot, and neither of us wanted to cancel, so me, Owlin, and my former dungeon master, let's just call him Kobold, who helped me earlier set up the VTT, decided to stick around to chat. We all just waited another hour for the game to start. Only for Mr. Problematic to slap us all in the face after that wait with, "Hi guys, start the game without me. I still need to make dinner and finish other stuff anyway." We were speechless. No! Hey, yeah, sorry. Something came up. I can't make it to the session. Wow. Yeah, I also don't know, like, when I can make it to the session. I've got a vacation. It's gonna last, like... Do you guys need me to call 911? Kobolds was the first one to pick his jaw off the floor and defended me by reminding Mr. Problematic that I have a lot of work balancing the game for 2 people, and likely would have a hard time balancing the game on the fly like that. And being diplomatic as usual, Kobolds also asked him if he could put some effort in, and if it was really that impossible for Mr. Problematic to join the game. I was absolutely done with the guy though. I asked Kobolds if he would like to join instead, and he thankfully had a spare character that would work. So by the time Mr. Problematic finally replied, an hour later, bro, what were you doing that whole time? Man must have been making dinner with Gordon Ramsay was taking so long.
Cooking like a donkey.
By the time he messaged, we were already mid-game and having a great time without him. This is not where the story ends though. We found out the reason he went to play in the next town over was because he assumed me being sick meant the game was cancelled entirely, despite me never saying so, and he doubled down the pestering, trying to force me to DM in-person games for him, even going so far as to try and find a spot for us to play at. Besides me being up to my ears with work, the problem was all the places he kept suggesting only worked for his schedule. I told him several times I'm not free on the days he wanted, but he kept and tried to pressure me into it. I finally lost my patience and yelled, "I will only tell you one more time. I work, meaning I do not have free time besides the weekends, and I do not have availability to do in-person games." And a discussion, get your horse out of the rain because it's already drowning? This a Brazilian thing? What'd the horse ever do to you? Why do you have to drown the horse? I didn't do anything wrong. If you really want to keep scheduling games when it's only good for you, go on, no one's stopping you, but count me out because I'm sick and tired of you ignoring my boundaries and trying to force me to radically change my life and priorities for the sake of a mere game. It does not pay my wages, and it's absolutely not worth this headache. The good news is, this finally got him off my back. He tried to get other people to join on his quest, but as far as I know, no one joined him and the thing died on the vine. As for me, I did not try DM again for 2 years, although it was because of outside issues, not him souring the experience for me. But despite me still being able to run one-shots or small adventures, trying to find my style, I'm happy to say none of my other players were this self-centered. I hope you really liked my story. I'm really curious what suggestions and insights you have for these type of people. I currently interview any new players to see how their interests and goals will mesh with the rest of the team, but I'm not sure how much that in Session 0 would help in this case. Look, for the 10th tomb, I schedule long sessions for people in radically different time zones. If I can do that, scheduling your game is possible. Look, stuff happens. Just recently I had to cancel a session because someone is sick. That's okay. But you do need to, put backbone into scheduling and messaging each other and communicating. Making sure to be aware of when people work, aware of when the game is, the time zone people are in, etc., etc. These are all things you need to keep track of. And while a lot of people insist that scheduling is not a skill and it's not something you can get good at, I'm telling you, dude, it is. Acting like this dude is not going to help. Demanding that schedules be made, acting self-centered, and not thinking about other people, that's what makes scheduling so difficult. Lack of communication and lack of thought put to anyone else in the group. The roleplay club I'm in used to have a lot of differences in age groups, which means the friend groups were very obvious. We usually played in 2 groups, one for the younger kids and one for the older. But one of the older guys took up DMing a one-shot for all of us. Kudos to him. I've tried and it's hard, but this is going to be important later. I don't remember specifically what the one-shot was about, other than that our adventuring group had someone in our party go missing, and somehow led us to exploring an abandoned town that had some kind of plant curse over it. I specifically remember my bard taking a lot of damage just because I decided to pick a rose.
Oh, hells. You didn't pick that by hand, did you? They're deadly poisonous.
No, seriously, they're deadly poison. Somehow we ended up underground and found ourselves in some large, pretty open space, and we found our friend. Except as soon as we did, he got killed by an arrow. When we looked to see where it was shot from, it was one of the player characters revealed to be evil. Except that wasn't it. At least 3 others too. I don't remember how many specifically, maybe 5 total. Revealed to also be evil. This was the Dungeon Master's plan. And spoiler, they were all part of the same friend group, being the oldest out of all of us. Fight goes like this. Basically, all of us are down the first round, and I don't think anyone is happy but the group of evil players, who have all played for a long time and have great builds, and dealing an unnatural amount of damage, which is weird, because we're all supposed to be level 3, right? Yeah, no, after the fight, when everyone on our side died, before they took damage, we found out that they were actually level 5, possibly even higher, as my memory is bad. But don't get me wrong, I would have been fine with this kind of betrayal if it wasn't for some of the players, because they would laugh in your face, and it's just not fun anymore.
You fool. You noob. Even. We have successfully decimated you and your entire party. You were never anything to us. We have defeated you in honorable combat. Honorable? What are you talking about? You literally stabbed us in the back. Okay, well, you had every opportunity to defeat us. Every opportunity. Dude, you wield the Leviathan Axe, legendary weapon of the god of war himself. You also have Thorn, the hand cannon of the infamous Dredgen Yor, and a machine gun! Ow. That doesn't matter. We defeated you fairly. Dude, I literally have a stick. How was I supposed to defeat you? You're clearly way more overpowered than us. See, that's... See? Oh, dang it.
Really felt like there was a lot of power imbalance on display, and even something as simple as one of the traders being not from the DM's closest friend group would have made this much better. I regret how I reacted at the time, and the Dungeon Master is a great guy, but I know for sure I didn't have fun, and I had some laughs about it with people that were not a part of the club. This was my first time writing the story. I'm sorry if it's bad, not as serious as I thought, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I think the Dungeon Master might be a great guy, but this is not a good move as a DM. Look, player betrayal is cool. Spoilers for the 10th Tomb, but we actually had a player character betrayal at our table, and it was really awesome, but it was also fair. It was set up, and more importantly, it was something that the entire group enjoyed. This just feels like malicious point scoring with the older kids, all just having a laugh at the expense of other people. Look, I make fun of people all the time, but this is dovetailing past fun and just going into cruel. This is supposed to be a fun game for everyone. And besides, if you're gonna laugh in someone's face, at least laugh after you have a fair fight. Come on, man. If you're overpowered, you have absolutely zero room to gloat. Hey, that's a wrap. If you guys enjoyed, you may enjoy an oldie but a goodie about someone who attacked someone else in a D&D game with a knife. It's linked in the cards. But before you go, please do leave a like on this episode and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment "you're short" to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them directly to us. There's an email down in the description down below. Send your stories our way for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, hit essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.
The phone. The phone is important for this skit. Where's my phone? Where's that?